On a normal day in the city of Lantien, something suddenly began to shake in the skies. With a strange purple lightning, people began to wonder what was happening as they ran to save their lives. Amidst the chaos and destruction, a monster was seen by everyone, and naturally, the despair increased more and more. A boy who was sleeping on a bench in the square woke up confused in the face of all this chaos. This was the advent of an unprecedented disaster that had the power to threaten all life on Earth. Spreading death and despair, a huge monster arrived and began to destroy the entire city. In the face of that, no one could be spared as they looked at the abyss that had descended to Earth. However, the man who was awakened in the square was not willing to die along with the others in this place, because today is finally the day he would see his girlfriend again after 3 years. However, suddenly a huge monster appeared in the city to ruin all the boy's plans, and this monster burned the boy entirely, even though he still had many things to resolve in his life. But the boy ended up accepting his cruel fate and understood that he would die there, and inevitably, he would no longer be able to see his beloved ever again. It had been a long time since the aliens silently began their invasion of Earth. At first, people dismissed these strange occurrences and treated them as rumors until the disaster came to them. In 1934, the body of a giant dragon fell from the skies in the northern Dongshuan Sea, destroying several fishing boats around. However, the next day, the monster's body disappeared, and in 1947, it was a giant crustacean's turn to appear in the western Meligo Sea. Then in 2020, a giant monster was sighted in the southeast of the Longbo district, under the red moon in the sky. But they all disappeared the next day without a trace, as if they had never appeared before. Even saying everything was fine, another incident could happen, and that is what happened with the city of Lantien being annihilated in one night. In this case, some civilians comment that they should also move from where they are to avoid any problems. But at that moment, the boy from before begins to feel sick from the noise, and suddenly he opens his eyes, finding himself underwater. Quickly, he looks at his hands but sees only 2 fins, and after thinking a bit, his fate becomes clear. Incredibly, after dying, the boy reincarnated as a fish in an ordinary lake in any city. For his luck or misfortune, there was a mirror attached to the bottom of the lake, and this made the boy confirm his hypothesis. Whether easy to accept or not, the boy was now just a simple carp like any other. However, the boy did not remember dying but remembered the giant monster he saw in his city. In this case, he began to question what happened to Xaoxui and what that monster was besides wanting to take a look outside. However, he is very limited in this form and would certainly feel better if he could get out of there. In any case, a fish also has things to worry about, such as the presence of countless predators. And with that, the hero witnesses the food chain acting in real time and begins to flee to save his second life. Despite swimming very fast, he finds himself cornered by the river monsters that pursued him. However, something even bigger than those predators appeared, with its shadow over all. This was an even more dangerous predator that was responsible for eating the boy's predators. However, besides this one, there was another much bigger than the previous one that, without wasting time, swallowed the monster whole. In this case, the wisest decision of the boy was to hide in a can he found stuck in the deepest part of the waters. At this moment, he decided to forget about the possibility of leaving this place, as his biggest problem was to stay alive. Suddenly, a message appears to the boy saying that the invincible leveling system has been successfully activated. And along with this message, a very beautiful girl also appears in the form of a mermaid. The hero, in turn, asks exactly who she is, but she just pulls him by the fin. Logically, the boy, who is now a carp, asks what the girl is doing holding him like that. However, the mermaid does not respond and continues to pull him closer and closer to the surface. Inevitably, after a very long journey, the two reach the shallow waters of the region where the boy reincarnated. Then, after feeling unwell for a few moments, the hero again asks about the mermaid's identity. In response, that beautiful mermaid informs him that she is the living and physical personification of the leveling system. The host, in turn, is the hero Lin Hao, level 1 of the Black Koi race, and his skills and characteristics are nothing special. In any case, the protagonist asks what he needs to do to increase his level. Without delay, the system informs Lin that he needs to start eating, which he does with the first thing he sees ahead. By devouring a breadcrumb, the hero receives an evolution point and understands the game's mechanism. Therefore, even though he understood, he is still irritated because he will have to keep eating non-stop until he evolves. After working on his level for a long time, the hero stops to rest with a full belly. In the end, all the progress he managed to achieve were a mere 5 evolution points, which didn't seem appropriate to Lin's mind. However, he quickly notices many more pieces of breadcrumbs falling into the water, and so he doesn't waste time to continue evolving and sets out to eat all he can. Unexpectedly, the breadcrumb crumbs are worth many points, and Lin becomes curious to know who's feeding the fish at this hour. This person, however, was none other than his girlfriend, who is in a moment of mourning for her boyfriend. With a photograph of the two in her hand, she laments because they came very close to seeing each other again and couldn't. The girl comments in tears that Lin Hao promised her that he would wait for her to return so they could meet. So in the face of this, the hero hears everything and thinks that the name said by the girl is the same as his own, which is quite a coincidence. However, suddenly something scares the girl, and this makes her drop her couple's portrait. It falls from her hand and goes down until it but meets its end at the bottom of the reservoir along with countless fish. Anyway, a man warns his captain Lou that they need to leave, and even with regret, she understands. Thus, as she goes, she hopes her boyfriend holds on because she will find him when everything is over. Back in the depths, the portrait continues to sink in the water, but the protagonist manages to come across the object. Unexpectedly, he realized that the one in the photo was his girlfriend, and so the person who was crying was her. Because of this, Lin used all his strength to surface as fast as he could. However, upon reaching the surface and observing the outside, he realizes that his beloved has already left. With that, Lin is filled with sadness and begins to cry, saying he would never go away without his Hsiaxue. But at that moment, the hero realizes that the pocket watch continued falling until he lost sight of it completely. This was a special memento of the two, and so Lin needs to get it back, even though he is still very weak at the moment. In this case, he laments that the two will continue missing each other for some time. But wiping his tears, the hero shows a determined expression to get back everything that was taken from him. Then Lin began his journey through the depths of the river, and more his determination to level up increased. In view of this, the mermaid commented that others usually took days, and therefore she didn't expect someone so eager. Anyway, the system informs that the conditions to evolve have been met. Therefore, Lin wonders what will happen in this evolution if he accepts, but having nothing to lose, he decides to evolve. Then after making his decision, the system answers the hero's question by saying that the sky is the limit. Later, the protagonist wakes up after a long sleep that was necessary for his evolution. At the moment he opens his eyes, however, he finds himself facing the curious face of that beautiful mermaid. Her curiosity was due to the extremely high amount of time that was necessary for Lin to evolve. In response, the boy also doesn't understand but says he can feel bigger and with harder scales. With a slight intention, the mermaid asks in which part he is bigger, and the hero is incredulous that something like that was said. Anyway, he looks at his status once again and notices some gains, starting with his skills that are now above 0. Among these skills, one was called Powerful Tail Attack and the other Steel Scale Armor. With that, the mermaid informs that the scales become hard as iron for 3 seconds, but have a cooldown of 10 seconds, which isn't much. Shifting his attention, the boy observes a corpse of a large fish being devoured by numerous others. However, now the hero has the power to appear among them and claim what he wants by force. Thus, he uses his tail attack ability and subdues most of the monster fish. Shortly after defeating some, the hero continues his advance and subdues many others with extreme ease. However, not everything would be easy for Lin, because in a place like the ocean, there would always be a bigger predator. Yet now the hero has powerful abilities given to him by the system, and so when the predator tries to devour him, it breaks its teeth. This was the power of the scale reinforcement ability, so having witnessed Lin's power, all the fish fled the area. At this moment, the hero's mission is updated to devour 100 shrimps and receive 2 rewards if he also completes the variation. In the end, the missions would continue to be devouring fish in order to evolve to the next stage. And the real prize that will be given at the end of the missions is said to be something even greater than that. Thus, the hero asks if he can become human again in the future, and the system reiterates that, as the saying goes, anything is possible. And if it's possible to become human again, the protagonist's priority will logically be to go after Xiaxue. However, the boy begins to act on emotion and descends into the deep waters despite being warned by the system. He is determined to retrieve his keepsake that was thrown into the river and use the moment when the big fish had left to do so. However, as he approaches the object, suddenly a huge monster began to move. In the end, even while sleeping, that monster placed the object under its domain. And with that, Lin thought that this sight made him return to the city of Lin Tian at the moment of his death. With his tail between his legs, the protagonist returns to the shallow waters, being dragged by the system. And very sad, the hero laments being so weak that he can't even recover a simple wristwatch. In his time alive as a human, the two lovers always frequented the same house like a true couple. One day after a bath, Lin's girlfriend came to tell him that she was starving. So after asking what she would like, she replied that she wanted to eat a bowl of noodles. In this case, the hero spared no effort to fulfill his girlfriend's wish and soon brought her the requested meal. With that, he began to walk around the house while calling Xiaxue to eat. However, after walking a lot, all he found was an empty and dark room with no one. Back to reality, the system asks what Lin is thinking about to be so lost in his own mind. So in response, the hero says with great sorrow that it's nothing too important. However, the mermaid understands the boy's feelings and warns that if that's what he wants, he will need to fight hard and evolve. And thus, Lin manages to understand that the system is right, and so his motivation returns with doubled strength. While swimming around the region, the protagonist finds some shells much larger than normal. Due to animal instinct and evolution, the hero decides to eat one of them, but the taste was not good at all. With that, he spits the shell out and throws the other one he picked up far away. This situation was quite frustrating for Lin because even having food in front of him, he couldn't eat anything. At the moment, he can't even bite a shell with his teeth, and this makes him think that his next evolution will take quite a while. Outside on the surface of the sea, the weather changes to a rainy climate that is approaching the beach shore. And in a very advanced car, the man from afore tells Xiaxue that they have reached their destination. This was the designated location where the body of a huge monster appeared, which made many officials go to the region. Anyway, the man still can't understand the magnitude of what he is seeing in front of him. This monster, which was bigger than anything they had ever seen, is with his dead body on the coast. So in response, Xiaxue orders everyone to start the evacuation process and keep their distance. That's because the monster's body could explode at any moment on this very coast. Cases of exploding whales are very common, and this occurs due to the excessive accumulation of rotten gases during the decomposition process. This is undoubtedly one of the deadliest biological weapons in the world, and before them existed something even bigger than a whale. Without delay, the girl dresses appropriately and orders her subordinates to prepare the ventilation tubes. As her first action, the girl makes an incision in the monster's skin with a scalpel and immediately places something inside the cut. That something, however, consists of tubes that are being successfully connected to the animal's body. However, at this moment, Captain Zhu receives information that there were some errors in the readings. And because of that, Shiatsu becomes desperate and shouts for everyone to get away from the body as quickly as possible. Initially, her subordinates don't understand, and so all the girl can do is grab the nearest one by the hand and start running. Then seconds after the warning, the monster's body indeed exits that critical state with a huge explosion. Meanwhile, from within the river, the hero continues his search and finds some living creatures on top of a rock. Fortunately, these were not so bad because besides tasting better than fish scraps, they also gave him 3 evolution points. At this moment, the system informs that an achievement was obtained by eating 200 shrimps, which entitles the hero to receive a regular treasure chest. With that, the system gives Lin the option to open the chest right now, and without delay, the hero accepts. Suddenly, that mermaid generates a treasure chest in her own hands and opens it, releasing an energy that flows to Lin. When the hero receives the reward, all his abilities increase greatly, and now he has the sharp teeth he had suffered so much from not having. Lin doesn't quite understand what will happen, but since it's a reward, he can't see the downside of it. In light of her pupil's latest evolution, the mermaid asks him to show her everything that has improved. However, the hero protested because to him, the system should already know everything since his evolution was due to it. Then the mermaid explains that all rewards are random and the system cannot see through them. At this moment, Lin's reward begins to activate, and this makes him feel an unbearable itch. Because of this, he starts swimming as fast as he can while complaining about the immense itch he is feeling. Unexpectedly, he ends up eating one of the shells that he couldn't manage before with much ease. In this case, he asks the mermaid what she thinks of his new teeth, and the girl decides not to comment. With that, Lin heads to a deeper area and starts eating many new fish with his sharp teeth. However, he couldn't understand why these fish tasted so awful. He believes it's due to the mutation of the fish, but he doesn't know if this can be caused solely by water pollution. In this case, Lin asks the system if these missions are given based on conditions or if they are random, but the mermaid says she doesn't know. Anyway, the hero thinks that if they are condition-based, a mutant creature like the one that killed him must be nearby. In his hypotheses, the protagonist couldn't be more right, and what he feared was getting closer and closer. In any case, Lin still doesn't know what's awaiting him, so he can only feel a shiver down his spine. Meanwhile, on the surface, some humans are trying to search for pleco fish with a flashlight in the sea. However, even though it's something rare, the two are lucky that some have been cast into this same region. However, more dangerous than the humans would be a being that was quickly approaching the fish. This immense aquatic monster fortunately passes by Lin, ignoring him, and without delay heads to the school of pleco fish. In this case, countless system windows open, informing of the immense danger. And due to the difference in levels, it warns that Lin must prepare for combat. Faced with his new obstacle, the hero believes it will be difficult to come out of something like this completely unscathed. And while he thinks of a plan to escape, a monster devours all the fish until it meets another of the same size. Taking the advantage of the first attack, the earlier monster takes its first bite at the newcomer. And unexpectedly, even though it is a being with an immense carapace, it begins to get the worst of it. Seeing this, Lin comments that when the bird and the oyster fight, the fisherman reaps all the gains. Anyway, he manages to spot another of those fish behind him, and wanting to evolve quickly, the boy eats it. Despite that, the taste of that thing continued to be as bad as it seemed, and it also left his teeth dirty. However, after devouring the fish, the hero gained 10 evolution points, which would give him a good amount of money. And finally, the fight between the two monsters ended with a unilateral victory by the snake monster. After the fight, it began to look around for new prey and soon managed to find the protagonist. Therefore, Lin Hao had to control himself not to panic. And after analyzing his opponent, he managed to notice a wound on its body. Without delay, the snake monster launched an attack, but the hero managed to circumvent the situation with his agility, and quickly, he hid inside a pit in a rock at the bottom of the sea. Without delay, the monster began to attack the protagonist's refuge with its enormous tail. With so many pleco fish in the region, the hero believed that the monster would probably go out to feed on the others. However, the shiver down his spine had not gone away, and his instinct was confirmed with another attack from the monster. In this case, Lin no longer understood what the predator wanted to do, as he would be crushed if things continued like this. In any case, he could not be crushed, so he hurriedly swam at his maximum speed. However, the monster managed to capture Lin without any difficulty with its tongue. In response, the hero tries to use his tail strikes, but nothing has any effect, and Lin's fate draws ever closer. Little by little, the monster takes the protagonist to its stomach, but he is not willing to die now. Meanwhile, the hero's girlfriend continues to flee from the being that suddenly exploded, throwing its parts everywhere. And the man from before fortunately appears to help her defend herself from the debris falling from the sky. Faced with this, Yadaksui thanks him coldly, and the boy, although a little confused, says he will always be at her disposal. However, amid so many organic compounds, something that resembled a core was also present. Because of that, Hyakusu realizes this is bad and quickly orders everyone to grab any weapon their hands can hold. That's because that was actually an egg, and they couldn't let even one return to the ocean. Thus, after arming themselves, all the officers began to shoot at the monster's eggs. And in light of this, her assistant commented that their captain Lou was certainly intelligent and athletic. Then, in parallel to the conflict on the beach surface, the hero thinks that he cannot die and must try to get out alive at all costs. And due to his immense willpower, the crystal on his head begins to emit a very strong glow. Therefore, Lin remains determined to get out of there, and at this moment he remembers the wound that the monster has on its back. However, the boy is still in the stomach, and therefore doesn't know how he can find the way back. He's being digested and doesn't know where he is in the monster's body, although he can see some decomposed bodies. In any case, the hero's iron scales last 3 seconds, and combining this with his sharp teeth, he will be able to find the exit. Fortunately, Lin reaches the location of the wound at the exact moment when the monster begins to heal itself, which reveals the position. Thus, the hero manages to find the exact location of the wound, and without wasting time, hardens his scales. Then the protagonist uses all of his strength to pass through that injured region, which makes the monster groan in pain. As expected, the protagonist manages to get out of the animal's body at high speed, and soon he heads to the shallow waters to get rid of his predator, who heads to the depths. Finally, the hero remembers that he was lucky regarding the animal's wound, and the system asks if he is okay. In any case, the protagonist questions how deep this sea is to have such a big snake monster. The mermaid in turn says that Lin will have to find out on his own during his evolution. In any case, that monster was responsible for clearing out all the big ones, so now it remains for the hero to take care of all the leftovers. So without delay, the protagonist set out and ate as many as he could from the school of Pleco fish. But even with all the XP gained, the fish still tasted very bad to consume in excess. Suddenly, the system warns that the host has met the necessary conditions to evolve. With that, it asks if Lin wishes to proceed, and he responds affirmatively. Unexpectedly, the evolution occurs very quickly, and many of the hero's abilities receive an upgrade. Besides divine powers that were received, there were still other things to pay more attention to. There was a passive ability that gave the protagonist an increase in tearing bite strength. However, Lin is not so satisfied since he fought hard to gain just a few centimeters. In any case, the system gives the protagonist 3 more missions with interesting abilities. And so Lin prepares to complete the first one and eat even more Pleco fish. So after starting his hunt, the hero bites one of the fish, but realizes it's an empty shell. And hidden in a pit, suddenly a strange animal begins to emerge with some threatening antennae. Coming face to face with the protagonist, the fish wastes no time and goes toward the hero to eat him. However, before he could even reach his destination, another even larger one appears, so he decides to change his focus by entering the bigger one's body. Therefore, Lin just stands still and very confused about what he has just witnessed. To address his doubts, the hero asks the system if the monster is eating the fish's brain. With that, the system doesn't know how to answer and questions whether he has the ability to eat such an animal. In response, the hero tells the mermaid to try eating it if she wants, but when Lin tried, it fled. In this case, he questions how he will eat it if it keeps escaping through the mouth. Looking down, it's no longer possible to see that previous monster, and only the big ones are present. This creature is clearly not something commonly found, and so Lin thinks it's a being from the depths. Noticing the hero's pensive behavior, the mermaid asks if he's still thinking about that watch. However, although it's not that, the protagonist remembers his objective and realizes he has no time to waste talking. Because of that, he sets out to finish his mission of eating 100 Pleco fish. Back on the surface in another region, a boat was surrounded by the police for forensics to assess. On the coast, a man was found dead lying in his bed in a very strange way, and another can give a testimony on what happened. Unexpectedly, the boy informs, trembling with fear, that everyone was killed by an eel. However, obviously the regular local police would not believe something as silly as that. However, the man becomes desperate and says he's telling the truth, recalling that the eel started to squeeze his friend's neck, who was killed. Then he warns that he was so scared that he couldn't even report it to the police. In this case, the policeman asks about the boy's statement that mentioned more people. That's because they managed to find only a single body in the house, which raises the officer's curiosity. With that, the man realizes that something very bad just happened to his colleagues. In an even greater state of distress, he shouts saying he had warned the men not to take that thing home. And faced with that, the policeman doesn't understand what he's talking about and comments that the boy can go home after the investigation. In the end, it was all over, and so the man stopped trying to fight, losing hope. Without delay, the officer number 1 orders his colleague to contact the Dragon Group because this is their responsibility. Xiaoxu in turn is part of the forensic team and notices that one of the fish is actually an empty body. Then she asks where the boy found the eggs, and he replies that he found them on the coast in a restricted area. Xiaoxu in turn also questions about the empty body, and the policeman informs that they found a blood trail leading to a nearby river. In light of this, the girl thinks that all this seems to be linked to another day. Without delay, she informs her colleague Zhao about the chance that a mutated creature has infiltrated the city. With that, she asks for the team to be split up so they can search for the creature, and furthermore, Xiaoxu asks to be taken to the river. Back into shallow waters, the hero finally finishes eating all the Pleco fish he saw. Faced with that, the mermaid asks why the boy is only eating these, and Lin is surprised that the system doesn't know. Promptly, he informs that these fish are an invasive species, and therefore he's taking care of those that pose a threat to wildlife. Now all that remain are native and harmless species, which doesn't yield any benefit from eating them. In any case, Lin can already evolve again since his contribution points are almost double what's necessary. Looking at his evolution, the boy asks what the ability Inauspicious Dwelling is. Furthermore, he asks if he really is a lucky koi fish and if these effects have any impact on him. In any case, the missions are updated daily as expected, but devouring 10 mutated creatures would be something very difficult to do while swimming in this lagoon. With that, Lin remembers the monster that shouldn't be there, and so he thinks that mutated creatures are being thrown into the water. In any case, he believes it's not very good to keep thinking about it and decides to get back to leveling up. After evolving, the hero is now at level 7 and is 1.3 meters tall, weighing 65 kilograms, besides having greatly evolved his abilities. Moreover, he received a camouflage ability when remaining still, matching his colors with the environment. Even his divine powers increased, but that concerns the living beings around him and not himself, which makes him consider having a buff aura. Outside the lake, a mother is having a comfortable moment with her daughter, but the mother warns that they must return before the lockdown time. And at that moment, a military group appears surrounding the area and ordering all civilians to leave. Without delay, some strange capsules are thrown into the water and Lin soon finds several of them. Being very curious, the boy goes to the capsule to check it out as it seems to be searching for something. However, what it was searching for were mutated animals, just like our hero. And so the machine's scanner reported the finding to the military computers, which caused Lin to be discovered. Quickly after locating the presence of a mutant animal on the surface, the military descend with diving suits. Then the system warns that the hero has been marked as a mutated creature, and so he should leave as soon as possible. Looking up, the protagonist can see the humans who are coming to hunt him. In this case, the deep waters are full of unknown mutants, which makes it very dangerous to flee that way. But dangerous or not, if Lin stays, he will definitely die, so he should seize his chance of survival. However, upon descending, the protagonist realizes that it's not so bad and that times have changed. In this case, the system suggests that the two boat adventure into even deeper waters, but Lin's sanity makes him refuse. Moreover, the hero reprimands the system because according to him, its duty would be to protect the host from the danger zone. In any case, since they're already there, the mermaid gives Lin the idea of taking a bite of a large fish before they go. However, Lin doesn't feel like it due to feeling shivers, which makes the mermaid confused. In such a case, the hero uses his camouflage ability, which will be quite useful at this moment. Because of that, he manages to approach the fish that is being controlled by the previous monster and eat it. This was a very slippery fish, but the protagonist still managed to eat it. And as a consequence, the system warns that the mission to devour 10 mutated creatures has been completed. Taking the lead in opening the chest, the system leaves the hero indignant for not being able to see his new abilities. However, he didn't need to because the skill window appeared in front of him, granting him black iron scales. In this case, the hero comments that all of his scales were pulled off, but even so, it didn't hurt at all, being more like he had stumbled upon gold. In any case, he is still not used to this transformation, but with his new ability, he believes it will be easier to survive. However, Lin was still in deep waters, and therefore huge monsters were lurking. Monsters that included the immense dragon serpent from before, which unfortunately appeared now. Naturally, the serpent follows its predator instinct and heads toward our hero. Then again, the system warns that the opponent's combat power is much greater than that of the host. However, Lin is confident that he will show the monster who is the real boss of the place. So at the moment when the serpent was going to devour the hero, he activated the black iron scales. In this way, even though the monster bit the protagonist, he didn't suffer any damage. Whereas, unlike Lin, the snake had all its teeth broken when biting those scales. Without wasting time, the protagonist swims to attack the monster with his powerful tail strike and causes considerable damage. In any case, a beast is still a beast, and therefore even while getting the worst of it, the monster continues. Therefore, Lin shows no mercy and uses his sharp teeth ability to bite the monster. Furthermore, he uses the black iron scales to continue attacking the same wound. Thus, Lin was determined to show the serpent the predicament it got itself into by picking a fight. Faced with this, the serpent finally begins to use its brain and tries to flee from its newest predator. And in response to the immense adrenaline generated by its endocrine system, it manages to land a powerful blow on the protagonist. In any case, he is determined to kill that giant monster, and therefore he manages to tear off a piece of it. At this moment, the serpent manages to wrap the hero with its tongue, but Lin activates the iron scales along with the powerful tail strike. Therefore, like a real lightning bolt, the protagonist frees himself from the trap and attacks various parts of the animal's body. Right after destroying the monster's tongue, he manages to pierce several parts of his body. And finally, Lin ends this battle victorious, having managed to defeat the red-eyed mutant snake. With that, the boy finally got rid of the bitter taste of defeat and could now recover what is his. Thus, by devouring the red-eyed snake, the boy manages to accumulate 500 points. Naturally, Lin is impressed by the amount, and the system informs that this happens when one comes out victorious from a battle with a level difference. Moreover, the mermaid says that unexpected gains have come, and when asked about it, she touches Lin's crystal with her finger. Upon coming into contact with that magic stone, an immense energy begins to swirl around the two. And after some time, the hero opens his eyes in an unknown place with his human body back to what it was before. Upon realizing that he has his hands back, Lin returns to the bottom of the sea very impressed. Furthermore, he notices that his incredible and charming face has returned, which makes him ecstatic. In any case, the mermaid warns that this is a temporary form and Lin doesn't quite understand what that means. Then the system informs that the human form is temporary because, in essence, the hero is still a fish. During this period, Lin will not be able to speak to anyone and will also have no combat abilities. But in any case, the boy remains happy because at least he looks like he did before. Without delay, he asks if he can go to the surface, and the mermaid explains that yes, as long as he returns before the transformation ends. In this case, the hero doesn't think twice about going to the surface, and having already spotted a warehouse, things become much easier. The lost items are also placed inside, which could make the place Lin's newest dressing room. In any case, the boy gets out of the water even though he's naked, and upon entering, he manages to find clothes of his size. Furthermore, he doesn't forget to take with him the wristwatch that was thrown into the sea. After that, as it's been a long time since he walked on land, the hero needs to get used to it again. Upon leaving the warehouse, the protagonist encounters the group of military personnel responsible for monitoring the river zone. As soon as they spot a civilian, they promptly inform him that it's a restricted area that has already been evacuated. With that, the hero indicates that he is mute but hears the man from before talking to Xiaoxu on the cell phone. This makes him desperate to also get in touch, and obviously, the military stop him. In this case, the man asks who the civilian is and what he is doing in this restricted area. However, one of the soldiers informs his superior that, as it seems, the boy cannot speak. In any case, Lin hands over the wristwatch to the captain, who upon opening it realizes it is an item belonging to his partner. In such a case, the man asks if the two know each other, and upon confirmation he says he will deliver the object to the girl on Lin's behalf. However, at this moment, another person appears in their presence, curious about someone still being in this area. This is the team leader who just checked the east side of the city, but even though Lin wants very much, he still cannot make contact. That's because, besides being unable to speak, the dragon team is investigating the mutated creatures, and he doesn't know how long he will be able to maintain his form. In any case, the captain informs that a young man found this watch and asked to deliver it to the girl. However, upon opening it, Xiaoxu realizes the value and significance of it, and therefore promptly asks about the person who delivered it. But for the luck or misfortune of the two, the tourist from before disappeared without leaving a trace. In this case, the captain doesn't understand the reason for the girl's despair since she managed to find a personal object. Then the girl decides to return to work, but not before concluding that Lin Hao probably didn't die. With that, the hero apologizes in his mind to his girlfriend but remains certain that he will explain everything at the right time. All that happens serve as a lesson to the hero because, as a fish or human, he can no longer live as a weakling. Sincerely, the protagonist ended up evolving into the human form by accident since his essence has not yet been fixed. This means that he must evolve into another creature, and for that, he must train to solve all these problems. Later, at the Longyan Research Center in a private room, it is asked if Xiaoxu has really decided to do this. And in response, the girl informs Elder Zhang that she has thought a lot and has already decided. However, the scientist does not fail to warn that injecting the high-concentration GT virus can pose high risks. And as a researcher, the Elder concludes by saying that she has no need to subject herself to this. However, Xiaoxu is determined to be transferred to the action team, so she again asks to try. With that, the Elder asks if she is doing this thinking about memories of Lin Hao. Naturally, Zhang warns that the world is going through a crisis and there is no time for personal problems. But the girl replies that this is not the reason, since the research center never arrives in time, which makes them lose much information. Therefore, Xiaoxu informs that if she joins the action team, she can bring many advances with her. So despite not wanting to, this answer was enough for the Elder to accept the request. Back in the middle region of the river, the hero is facing an immense pit and prepared to enter deeper waters. In this case, the system asks if the boy is thinking straight because the creatures of the deep waters are unknown and dangerous. And with that, the hero agrees, but he knows that he won't know if he doesn't try, and he is not thinking of running away from his fights. In the Huolong Lagoon, the hero Lin begins to explore the deepest part available. And for not yet being a predator at that level, the protagonist hides while eating small marine animals. Seeing this, the system questions the boy who was recently determined to explore but now shows a cowardly attitude. In response, the hero explains that this is a tactic to explore safely. After that fish, the system informs that evolution is available and Lin accepts without hesitation. After his evolution, the boy realizes that he can see everything more clearly, and this is due to the night vision ability that was acquired. The hero is now at level 8 with 1.5 meters and 45 kilograms, and besides that, a new map has been unlocked. In this case, Lin is curious about it and wonders if he can teleport using it. And upon opening the object, he realizes it is a complete map of the city of Longyan. The map shows many places, from the northern Hanshu River to the Dragon King Temple, which is about 5 kilometers away. There is also another location about 8 kilometers away, being a river outside the Longyan Chemical Factory. However, the hero doesn't know how he will use the map with these places, but upon saying this, the system asks if Lin wants to use teleportation. With that, even having a cooldown time of 1 hour, the hero is surprised to really be able to teleport using the map. Thus, he thinks that he has nothing to worry about and decides to test it before drawing a conclusion. Because of that, the system takes care of everything, and in an instant, the hero appears at the determined location. That was enough to make the protagonist happy because he finally unlocked a new menu. Besides that, the grass carp has a much better taste than those scavenger fish. And being a predatory fish in this region, the boy can prey on all of them with extreme ease. Then the system warns that Lin devoured an adult grass carp, which made him gain 90 points. 90 points are equivalent to 3 mutated fish, and so the boy remembered the horrible life he was living in Huolong. However, there weren't only small fish in this place, and before Lin, another sea snake could be seen. However, something else caught his attention because there was a huge carp in front of him. It resembled more a catfish, and since the system didn't warn him, it had power equal to or less than Lin. In this case, the boy thinks that this must be a mutated creature and one that will probably give him many evolution points. However, at the moment he tries to bite the fish's body, its skin proves too slippery for that. And soon the prey escapes with a tail strike that, despite everything, doesn't cause much damage to our hero. Thus, Lin realizes he was right about the fish's combat power and promptly activates his fire scales. With that, together with his tail strike, the boy manages to deal significant damage to the side of the carp's face. In desperation, it tries to bite the hero, but the fire causes it to burn. Then Lin seizes the opportunity and starts attacking the animal with his reinforced tail. Faced with this, the catfish tries to flee with all the strength it still has left. However, suddenly the system warns that the teleportation time limit has expired, and therefore the boy will return to Fuolong Lake. But just before leaving, the boy comes across a very strange being in front of him that reminds him of what destroyed his hometown. Fortunately, the system sent him back at the right time, but that made clear the danger that the city of Longyan was facing. Even though he didn't want to return, Lin was still taken back, and upon arrival, he said the thing was very familiar. With that, the system informs that the boy can go back to see it again because there are two options. The first is to wait at the dragon pool until the teleportation is ready, and the second is to swim there. Obviously, with the boy's speed, he will turn into a small koi fish after arriving at the Cold Waters River. Furthermore, he will have to wait at the place until the next day to return safely. In this case, the hero says he has no time to lose and that he will check on his own right now. Upon reaching the surface, the protagonist hears a conversation between two people about a request to leave. The conversation is between the two captains, and Xiaoxi says that after finishing her work, she will leave the next day. So obviously, this statement arouses the protagonist's curiosity. The captain comments that since the elder brought her to the dragon team, he already knew she wouldn't be content with just studying dead creatures. In any case, the girl says that she has always been excited about her work since the first time she saw it. However, the more secrets she uncovered, the harder it was to maintain her original motivation. It is said that mutant creatures indeed represent a huge threat to public safety. But the GT virus that these creatures carry is not entirely useless for the general population, because in fact all members of the operational team were injected with small amounts to increase their physical strength and combat ability. However, to surpass their limits, the person must also choose to inject a high concentration of the same virus. In this case, the captain decides to say nothing more because to him, the girl is a true warrior. Then she replies that everything she is doing is for the sake of her beloved who is waiting for her. With that, she hopes everything goes well, and the hero begins to move. After a few moments, he assumes his human form and heads toward the woods. Recalling what he heard, the hero understood that his girlfriend joined the dragon team with the aim of researching mutant creatures. But now they are going on a mission much more dangerous than usual. The mutant creatures possess the GT virus, and this makes the protagonist wonder if he also has something like that. At that moment, the system appears and warns the boy to hurry because the human form lasts only 40 minutes. In this case, Lin ran a lot and commented that his conditioning was as if he hadn't run in a lifetime, which was indeed true. Anyway, despite being something strange, the boy feels much more comfortable in the water. So without delay, the boy starts devouring countless carp of different species, obtaining numerous gains. However, there was no school of fish daring to approach, which made clear the presence of one of the big ones. Furthermore, the water is very murky, which makes it even more evident that something is happening. With that, in a surprise attack, the mutated catfish from afar appears ready to devour Lin. However, encountering the carp was precisely our hero's desire, but still, something was different. That's because that fish didn't have as high killing intent as it does now. In this case, our hero now believes this is due to the grudge from their last battle. Therefore, Lin believes he must finish the fight quickly because he needs to investigate the disgusting monster that is nearby. So at the moment when the two clash with attacks, the boy gets the upper hand with his powerful tail thrust. This ends up creating a perfect opportunity for the hero to bite the animal in its most vulnerable part. And since the monster stops smiling, the boy believes his attack is working. Thus, Lin soon tears a piece of the mutated fish's body off with his sharp teeth. Unexpectedly, the flesh of that animal was very tasty, and if it weren't for the slippery skin, it would have been much easier. Anyway, the boy thinks that the animal acted strangely and differently from usual. But now Lin is more concerned with the amount of points he will receive, and the system also praises the taste of the meat. In a few moments, the hero devours the animal completely, and after eating, he comments that the taste resembles that of chicken. By devouring the catfish, 3,000 evolution points are given to the boy, leaving him surprised, and once again he can evolve. However, Lin quickly hears people talking about the existence of many fish in the region. One of the men suggests electrocuting them, so one of them goes to get the electric net, while another gets the net. But suddenly, the boys notice a commotion in the water that appears to come from a big fish. What they didn't expect was that the fish, despite being our hero, would also be a very frightening animal. In this case, upon witnessing the form of that monster, the three ran away screaming for their lives. And in light of this, the system warned that due to his action, the boy would definitely become a target of the dragon team. Later, at a local police station, the fishermen report everything to the officers. One of them says that the police are not understanding because a fish in the Cold Waters River jumped and was bigger than himself. This report, however, makes the officers have to hold back their laughter. But anyway, one of them asks the boy to continue, and the other asks if he saw it clearly. In response, the boys say they went fishing and didn't drink a single drop of alcohol. However, one of the officers reminds them that the Cold Waters River is closed for fishing, and yet they went fishing. In this case, all the boys realize they made a mistake by reporting it and apologize for the inconvenience. With that, they quickly leave the police station. And although the first officer doesn't believe them, the second recalls a similar report. Thus, he believes it is better to prevent than to remedy, as things have not been very calm lately. Back in the depths of the lake, the hero comments that they spent the whole night searching and didn't find the monster. Anyway, when viewing his status, he remembers that there is a reward when a task is completed. Thus, Lin comments that the panel is amazing and makes it easier to level up by being able to eat at will. With both tasks completed, the system asks if the boy wants to claim the rewards now. And all this was thanks to the fish that died in the electric current from before. In any case, the system warns that Lin has met the conditions to evolve, and he soon accepts to proceed. In this case, the mermaid commented that she always knew that the boy's talent was among the best. After evolving, the boy finally managed to reach level 10, and now remained to see what he had achieved. Among the skills that came out of the chest was an increase in all basic fundamentals and in some particular abilities. But one caught Lin's attention more, being the sharp horn, which was soon put to the test. Upon accepting, however, the boy began to feel an itch in his brain, but that was due to the horn that suddenly grew. However, it was still strange for Lin that a carp had developed horns as part of its evolution. But that horn still seemed quite sharp, and with the increase in his speed, it would certainly cause damage. With that, the hero states that when he reaches the Cold Waters River, he will test the power of his newest resource. In the conference room with the most important and relevant humans in the country, a meeting begins among the different anti-mutant groups. The captain from before, in turn, informs that they have sealed the place where the monster might be hiding. And then he adds that they will corner it in the delimited region to prevent it from escaping. With that, the leader comments that it will be good if they can resolve this issue quickly, as the city of Longyan has a large population. And knowing that an attack will result in a disaster, the captain asks not to worry since the dragon team will be responsible. In this case, the general leader understands and appreciates the man's hard work. But there is one more thing to mention. It is said that on this day, someone found the skeleton of a massive creature in the Cold Waters River. The skeleton is very complete and different from common fish, with large bones and sharp teeth. With this, Higaksui notes that this is the skeleton of a mutated creature, one that resembles a catfish. It is known that there are many grass carps and crucian carps in the Cold River, which makes them think this is an invasive fish. Therefore, based on the shape of the skeleton, Lin's girlfriend believes this is a fish evolved by the GT virus. However, she also believes that there must be an even larger mutated creature in the Cold River that ate this catfish. This causes chaos in the meeting, as many creatures are gathering in Longyan City. To eat a mutant of this size, the officials discuss among themselves that the creature must be enormous. In this case, Xiaoxu warns her colleagues that over time there will be even more creatures, and this is inevitable. The captain of the dragon group warns that there was a report from the station that someone saw a koi fish larger than a person in the cold waters. This happened last night, so their next target will be to hunt and kill this unknown mutated creature. Later, a wild boar approaches, not recently from the pond, to drink water. However, it had no idea that our hero was lurking, ready to pierce it with his new horn. In order to hide at the surface, Lin thinks that if he can pierce the boar's head, he will be able to kill it. Because of this, the boy waits for the right moment, and when the boar gets closer to the water, the hero takes the opportunity to strike. Fortunately, Lin manages to execute his plan without major problems, and soon the animal dies without even having a chance to defend itself. However, the boy's horn was stuck to the boar, and he couldn't believe this situation. In this case, he thinks it would be better if he grew limbs, but either way, the boy was right when he thought he could kill the animal with one blow. Then the system alerts Lin that he can still use his human transformation to get out of this mess. However, the boy explained that he wanted limbs to help him in battles, as his human form is too weak. Given this, the mermaid comments that Lin is different from before, as at the beginning he used to cry for not wanting to be a fish. In response, the hero says that the system is right because he has indeed gotten used to his new form. In any case, he believes it is more important to pay attention to what is in front of him now. However, after taking the first bite, the boy realizes that biting fur is very disgusting. Because of this, he thinks it's time to use another method to eat his prey. Then, after burning the animal with his fire fins, Lin can eat properly. With this, the system transfers 350 points to the boy for eating a wild boar, which the protagonist finds too little for the difficulty. Either way, it doesn't matter to him, as he wasn't even thinking about eating boars before getting the horn. Moreover, tomorrow Lin will be teleported back, and in that place, he will be able to level up in just one day. Upon returning to Huapam, the hero becomes curious about whether the deep water creatures also hunt in shallow waters. But after spotting a huge crab in the area, the boy immediately attacks it, now declaring himself the owner of the place. Some time passes, and the hero notices that tourists have come to feed the fish again. Then, as he surfaces, Lin hears that there was an explosion in the eastern district involving the police and an unknown monster. In this case, the boy starts thinking about this monster that was seen in the Cold Waters River. With that, he asks the system if there are mutated creatures outside of the water, and is informed that all those infected by the GT virus undergo mutations. In this case, the boy asks if he can also mutate because of this. But the mermaid warns Lin not to compare himself to them since he has her by his side. With this, the boy feels embarrassed, and to change the subject, comments that it would be nice if he could feed on this mutant. This is because the hero imagines he might evolve into a great white shark, which would be a dream come true. Either way, the mermaid tells Lin to get back to work because they don't have time to waste. In this case, the boy is upset because even after reincarnating as a fish, he still has to complete the service schedule. But right after his complaint, the system notifies him that the hero has just leveled up and a new teleportation area has been unlocked. This new area is the river outside the Longyan chemical plant, and in addition, the usage time has been halved. Now the protagonist can devour new creatures while exploring this unlocked area. In this way, he thinks it's like a game because you get rewards, and the tasks keep being updated. In this case, since he already gained a horn, he believes he will evolve until he gets limbs. But the moment the boy decides to teleport to the area he unlocked, the place wasn't as good as he thought. Unexpectedly, the water quality was terrible with a slimy and disgusting feel. However, a conversation can be heard about the dragon team, and because they are at home, they need to hurry. Seeing this, the hero realizes that these people are not team members, as it seems they are competing. Soon he thinks that the dragon team must be the secret national organization that deals with mutated creatures. This means they handle all kinds of unidentified extraterrestrial life. And because of this, Lin becomes curious to know if there are other teams like this, but as he looks at the men, two crates catch his attention. One of the hooded figures comments that since they are here, they must be trying to awaken the ancient creature hidden in the city. Then the other warns that there must also be relics of ancient civilizations hidden in Longyan City. In this case, Lin hears everything and uses his camouflage ability not to get caught. And soon the duo continues with one saying that they must find the relics and obtain the advanced warrior equipment. Then when the global catastrophe happens, the group they belong to will become the strongest. However, at this moment, the boy's colleague reprimands him for speaking too loudly. But the man wasn't willing to listen, given that there wasn't supposed to be a living soul in a place like this. In any case, it obviously won't be convenient to have people around, and if anyone shows up, the boy will make sure to kill them. With that said, the hero thinks that these are definitely not good guys, but he finds it curious that no one has stopped them from walking around armed. Returning to the conversation, one of the two receives a message and then tells his colleague to get ready to move. This is because the dragon team has already narrowed down the target area, and besides, they sent many people this time. However, to the bolder of the two, they are still just a bunch of kids. In any case, the boy says that his brother Kun will get outfit number 3. However, Lin doesn't understand what this outfit is and wonders if it's some sort of mecha combat suit. Suddenly, the men's technological devices detect the presence of something, and this puts them on alert. In this case, Lin quickly leaves and realizes the hard way that the men's watch also detects mutant creatures. Therefore, he believes that compared to the dragon team's equipment, this one is much more convenient. Getting straight to the point, they ask if there are mutated creatures in the area, and one of the men responds that he's still not sure. So to clear their doubts, the device is activated in the case, releasing Sword. Thus, the man delivers a vertical slash to the water, splitting the river in two and drying the affected part. Because of this, the hero is launched into the air by the pressure of that sword strike. And soon the villains see the protagonist in the middle of the river, understanding that it's one of those creatures. Without delay, Lin dives back in and tries to escape as fast as he can, but the men wouldn't let that happen. That's because more of that powerful virus could be found in the body of that animal. At the same time that Lin tries to swim away, the men chase him and praise the intelligence of the animal. Given this, the hero thinks that to carry such heavy crates at this speed, the two are definitely not normal humans. In this case, the protagonist activates his powerful tail strike, generating a massive whirlpool in the water. A few seconds later, the boy believes he managed to shake them off. Next, our hero thinks there's no reason to be nervous since he can teleport whenever he wants. Besides, he doesn't know who these guys are, but he remembers he's there for something more important. And since Lin is running out of time, he decides to eat all the tilapias first. By devouring some tilapias, the hero gains evolution points currently at level 14 with a length of 3.3 meters. Aside from his size and combat power, there doesn't seem to be much change, but despite being a disgusting place, it still gives him some points. In this case, the protagonist asks the system to show the new tasks that are available. They are devour 100 cleaner fish, 200 catfish, 10 eels, and 10 mutated creatures. With 4 tasks, Lin understands that the difficult one is truly challenging as it's hard to find so many mutated creatures in this place. But in any case, the hero knows he will continue evolving over time, making it necessary to take a nap. However, the teleportation time has increased as predicted after leaving the beginner's area. So, with no rush around, the boy decides to eat a little more, but something starts scaring the fish. Suddenly, something approaches at high speed, making the hero think it's another mutant. However, the unknown being turns out to be a simple human prepared for battle with a sword in hand. In this case, the boy notices that this is the same man from before, and now they are closer than ever. It becomes clear that the two humans managed to follow the hero to this region. Without delay, one of the soldiers attacks, and although the hero dodges, the man does not give up. At that moment, as he approaches the protagonist, he unleashes a burst of energy. Unexpectedly, the attack causes some damage to Lin's shell, but the result was far below what was expected. However, the hero is not willing to just take hits, and after activating his abilities, he enters the fight. Enraged, Lin doesn't even think about forgiving the man who dared to attack him with a sword. Therefore, the hero charges forward and manages to crack the warrior's diving mask. Since it's the same person from before, the protagonist continues his brutal attacks. But changing his line of thought, Lin believes this suit is very strange to make a human so strong underwater, and this human is convinced that he will wipe out the mutant fish with his sword. However, our hero counters the strike again, but this time with an even more powerful tail attack. Next, Lin goes for the warrior's arm and bites it using his sharp teeth ability. However, the armor was strong enough to prevent the protagonist from penetrating it. With enough time to react, the man used his sword to attack the hero with everything he had. So despite Lin continuing to try and bite, the blows started to cause him significant damage. In any case, the reason the hero let go was not out of fear, but due to the teleportation time. And in this case, he becomes even more irritated because he couldn't finish off these damn warriors now. After the fight, our hero returns alive but uncomfortable with the sharpness of that sword. Even unwillingly, the boy admits that with one more cut, his scales might have given in. The weapon the human carried didn't seem like an ordinary sword due to its combat power. Moreover, the armor he was wearing was the number 3 suit, making him think that technology had advanced a lot while he was away. Back to the main point, Lin remembers that something about ruins was mentioned, so he speculates that the swords and armors came from there. Logically, the boy thinks it's possible because the mutated creatures might be connected to the GT virus and the ruins. In this case, Lin thinks that a civilization came to Earth and left its ruins behind from which the virus originated. It becomes clear to the hero that the alien is behind this and that their goal was to reopen the ruins and awaken their ancestors. Given this, unfortunately, it's also logical to think that the world is going to face tough times very soon. Thus, all that remains for Lin is to evolve and get stronger as quickly as possible. After a few kills, the boy is engulfed in system energy and starts progressing. After just a few seconds, the hero is congratulated by the system for reaching level 15 and earning a blue chest. Unexpectedly, with his evolution, a night combat ability appears. This ability increases strength and perception by 10% during a nighttime fight. Although it doesn't seem like a major advance now as he gets stronger, it will have a greater impact. Back on the surface, one of the men asks where the mutated creature went. He then questions if the animal might have the power to teleport to other places. But promptly, his brother denies it, saying that such a thing is impossible. Changing the subject, the boy recalls that his brother's armor is a bit damaged. In this case, he explains that even though he worked hard to get the armor, it was bitten by the beast. Either way, the two still have a lot to do instead of standing around talking. However, the one who engaged in the fight believes there is something strange about the fish's intelligence, and this must be reported to the organization. In the city, people are talking about a lockdown that occurred in the Eastern Division, and civilians are already expecting the worst as the cause. But back at the Huolong River, our hero is quite relaxed as he just woke up from his sleep. At that moment, the system informs him that the daily tasks have been updated. This makes Lin realize that completing a task doesn't change the fact that it will still be updated. Moreover, the map has been updated, including a new place to explore. However, before he could test it, a strange feeling begins to envelop Lin's body. Sensing something big, the protagonist heads to the surface to check what's happening. Quickly, he transforms into his human form, and the system is unsure what to do with Lin. On Dragon Mountain, several soldiers are rushing to block the roads because a monster is on the loose. They know it's a very dangerous being, and at the same time, a few vehicles head out as reinforcements. Among those heading out is Shaxu, who is also pursuing the Dragon Mountain. In communication, a soldier warns that the stakes are high and they must surround the area to prevent the target from escaping. Additionally, traces of the L organization have already been found in the region, which is considered a group of madmen. In response, the captain agrees, saying only a madman would inject a virus that harms somatic functions into themselves. Either way, Xiaoxu mentions that the alien has already been injured, and its combat effectiveness is low. Because of this, the captain is now more focused on paying attention to the GL group members. Knowing who he's dealing with, he has no hesitation about shooting these bad men. In this context, one of the possibilities is that the GL group wants to blow up the entire Dragon Mountain. Upon noticing the presence of a drone flying above them, Xiaoxu quickly orders everyone to activate their armor protection. Mere moments after the warning, a huge explosion occurs and the area is engulfed in flames. After dressing in the forest, Lin asks how the system knows which path to follow, and the mermaid responds that it's because she is a hacker. Either way, she questions why the boy wanted to come here so suddenly. In this case, he explains that when the explosion happened, he felt a mysterious force. Something that was resonating with him, and although the mermaid didn't understand, it was a fact. At that moment, the hero hears someone complaining about not being able to reach the organization because the communication had been cut. Even so, the person seems pleased that at least they managed to blow up the dragon group. Seeing this, the hero thinks that this dude seems to have a good relationship, so by following them, he might find the alien. Changing the subject, one of the warriors recalls the fish that destroyed the armor, and the other is indignant about it. However, now it's time for the two to go after the alien, who is hiding so they can collect the rewards. With those rewards, they will be able to get another suit, so the older of the two spares no effort in the hunt. Lin, for his part, realizes that the man's speed on land is enough to defeat him. But suddenly, the hero hears a strange noise in the woods, and so he goes to investigate. Fortunately, the noises were coming from his girlfriend, Xiaoxu, who was taking care of some mutant eggs. Faced with this, Lin can't help but feel disgusted by the horrible appearance of the eggs, and he is soon scolded by the system. Either way, Xiaoxu reports that she has managed to locate the alien and sends the coordinates to her partners. However, at that moment, the warrior from the EL group appeared in the same spot where the girl was. Because of this, it became the perfect opportunity to take out one of the most influential members of the dragon group. However, before he could attack her, our hero quickly came to her rescue and stopped the combatant's arm. With not much time left, Lin knows he will need to resolve this situation in a single blow. Thus, the hero redirects the warrior's blade, causing it to pierce his own chest. Faced with this, the man realizes that the civilian in front of him is actually the mutant fish from before. With that, he smiles and pulls the sword from his chest. throwing it toward Xiaoxue. However, the girl manages to dodge, and at that moment, she realizes that her savior is actually Lin Hao. Without hesitation, our protagonist continues his assault, landing a punch right in the man's stomach. That punch generates a strong blue light, making it difficult for Xiaoxue to see. Taking advantage of this distraction, the boy jumps back into the river before giving any explanation. In the end, Lin leaves his girlfriend alone and confused, unsure whether she could truly believe what she saw. Despite fleeing, this was obviously not the protagonist's desire, but now their destinies are on different paths. In this case, the system gets emotional about Lin's forbidden love story, completely breaking the mood. In any case, the boy comments that when he was in human form, he felt different than before. Then the mermaid informs him that Ko's experience and mindset persist during transformation. Back on the surface, Xiaoxue reports on the comms that the alien is missing and orders the group to search the coordinates. The mermaid overhears the conversation, so she asks where the alien could have gone. Lin replies that the alien must be looking for its spaceship, but inconveniently, they still don't know where it is, so the hero tries to convince the system to help him. In any case, the mermaid asks how she can find it, and the boy reminds her that she's helped detect things countless times before. In this case, Lin hopes she can detect electronic signals and sync with them. Thus, the system decides to try, and unexpectedly, it quickly manages to locate it. Lin then discovers that the alien is at the top of the mountain, so he knows there's no more time to waste. That's because the boy understands that they can't let it escape, as it could communicate with the rest of the alien. Near a stream by the mountain, the alien is drinking water from the river, until it notices some fish swimming near it. It then approaches each fish, feeding on parts of them. Nearby, the protagonist senses the smell of blood flowing through the river. As he gets closer to his enemy, he realizes the enemy possesses greater power than him. But without hesitation, he charges furiously toward the enemy, landing a direct hit on its head. The alien quickly grabs its weapon to counterattack, but the protagonist deflects the attack, sending the weapon flying away. The alien doesn't give up and stretches its arm to retrieve its sword, once again initiating an attack against the protagonist. In an attempt to defend himself, the protagonist uses his horn to absorb the enemy's blow, and then steps back to recover his stance. The alien's strike was so powerful it cracked the protagonist's horn. Now it's the alien who charges forward, furiously attacking the protagonist. Once more, the protagonist defends the attack with his horn, and then counters by launching another attack, tearing off one of the alien's arms while mocking its fragile body. The alien immediately becomes enraged, preparing to strike with everything it has. The alien attacks Lin Hao with all its strength, knocking him out. The mermaid desperately tries to wake Lin Hao, touching his unconscious spirit. She repeatedly shouts for him to wake up, until his consciousness starts to return. As soon as Lin Hao regains consciousness, the mermaid pleads with him to stop wasting time and give it his all, or he will die. The alien then charges at Lin Hao again, attacking him while he's within the barrier created by the mermaid, and slamming him into the reverb. The force of the blow was so great it created a huge crater around the protagonist. It had been a long time since Lin Hao felt as much pain as he did that day. Now the alien attacks again while questioning the protagonist's courage to ambush it. The alien strikes the ground with tremendous force. Lin Hao barely manages to dodge the blow, but his enemy quickly notices him escaping and grabs him by the tail, mocking his small fish-like form. The protagonist begins to emit power, burning the enemy's hand, leaving the alien confused, wondering what Lin Hao was planning. But Lin Hao responds that his enemy has no right to question him, and charges with all his strength against the alien, biting it while using his power to burn his enemy. He shouts that he won't let go, not even for a second. Lin Hao drags the alien across the river while burning it with his power, until the alien finally dies. Suddenly, some people approach the river searching for someone. Lin Hao becomes confused, unsure where they came from, but he quickly leaves the area, afraid of being captured and killed while still exhausted. Those men argue about not finding the person they were supposed to meet there. They say that if someone has killed the creature, they will hunt down and skin whoever did it. Lin Hao overhears their conversation and realizes he cannot let those men find him. He decides to take drastic measures regarding those people. But before that, he notices that his form has changed into a more humanoid creature in the forest amidst the mountains. Two guards are watching over the spaceship in the woods. While they talk, something emerges from the river and attacks them before they can even react, slashing their throats. Lin Hao steps out of the river in his lizard form. The mermaid questions why he is still there even after gaining the necessary evolution points. Lin Hao replies that he cannot let that spaceship remain in those people's hands. Inside the ship, we see a guard relaxing while listening to music as someone approaches from behind, suddenly falling in front of him, leaving him confused and unaware of what is happening. Out of nowhere, the protagonist pierces his body with his claws. The others nearby scream in fear upon seeing the protagonist. But without mercy, Lin Hao slashes them all with his sharp claws, leaving the place filled with bloody bodies on the ground. At that moment, he realizes his power has drastically increased since defeating the alien. He then reverts to his normal form, saying that it was his only choice to prevent those people from causing greater harm. In the control room of the spaceship, he observes the control panels, but he cannot understand any of it, until he notices an object hidden beneath one of the panels. He grabs the small box, and then leaves after obtaining what he wanted. Already outside the spaceship, Lin Hao stands still as he observes the ship. The mermaid asks why he is still there, and he quickly replies, saying he wants to know how the dragon team will contact him if they take that ship. The mermaid responds that there's no way to know when the dragon team will reach that area. At this moment, the protagonist says he has an idea of what to do. Shortly after, we see him moving away from the location, while the mermaid complains about his plan. But Lin Hao tells her to be quiet since she hasn't understood his plan yet. Everything around the spaceship is on fire. Then we see a soldier asking the dragon team captain what kind of creature could have done all that. The scientist responds that further research is needed to find the answer. Suddenly, one of the soldiers shouts, saying they found possible alien entrails. Upon hearing this, the captain wonders if the alien was devoured by someone else, or by another mutant creature awakened by the alien itself. At this moment, the woman recalls her last encounter with Lin Hao. However, she doesn't mention this to the captain. Instead, she says she doesn't believe it was another mutant creature, but she doesn't have a definite answer either. She then tells them not to overthink it and take advantage of the intact spaceship to capture and study it, because she knows that digging deeper into the matter might lead them to Lin Hao. The captain still complains about not finding the alien's weapon. Meanwhile, on the protagonist's side, we see him hiding some weapons at the bottom of a river, covering them with stones, while the mermaid complains about how he acquired more equipment but still hasn't figured out how to use it. Lin Hao then says that with his small arms he couldn't use weapons anyway, so he decided to store them. But now he feels more satisfied knowing that his evolution from a fish to an amphibian shows that his evolution can surpass species boundaries. Suddenly, a system message appears before him. It states that he will now have to devour much more dangerous and savage creatures and people. Seeing that message, the protagonist panics at the realization that his new missions are now at extreme difficulty levels. The mermaid says he should just skip the missions he can't complete. He then explains that skipping a mission is like leaving an entire page of a test blank. Afterward, the two decide to search for food. Shortly after the protagonist goes after new prey, we see the mermaid asking Lin Hao if he should be eating those mutant fish nearby. Simultaneously, we see a person dumping those mutant fish into the river with a bucket. Two people were casually throwing those mutant fish into the river while talking about going for drinks to unwind from work, until they hear a noise coming from the river. And out of nowhere, the head of a strange creature emerges from the river, shooting a jet of water from its mouth, which directly hits the two and tosses back the mutant fish they had just dumped in the river. Immediately, the two are startled, thinking it's a ghostly encounter. They'd run away, believing they're being haunted. Now the protagonist tries to understand if that was a move by the organization hunting him and what their plans might be. As he looks into the water, he notices something beyond the fish he had encountered earlier. However, he wonders if he's just imagining things. We then see that there are several mutant crawfish underwater heading toward him. They prepare to attack, and they charge at Lin Hao. Seeing the number of crawfish before him, an idea arises in his mind, which is to eat all those crawfish. The crawfish advance to attack, but Lin Hao simply sets them all on fire. Right after, he prepares to feast on the crawfish. As a result, he earns 100 evolution points. However, while eating his crawfish, a massive crawfish approaches to attack him. Barely, the protagonist manages to dodge a powerful strike. Underestimating such an enemy could prove fatal in this fight. Despite its size, the enemy launches a series of high-speed attacks, forcing Lin Hao to retreat. Then he charges with all his strength against the enemy. But the enemy isn't foolish and quickly grabs his horns before he can strike, completely nullifying Lin Hao's charge. Lin Hao is surprised by his enemy's capabilities, but fortunately, his current form no longer relies on his horns to attack. So he grabs the giant crawfish's claws with all his strength, immobilizing it. Then he strikes with one of his claws against the crawfish. However, the crawfish unleashes a powerful beam from its mouth to block the protagonist's attack. After blocking the protagonist's attack, the crayfish returns to counterattack, once again striking him with one of its claws. But Lin Hao loses his patience and begins to burn everything around him with his power, killing and cooking the enormous crayfish, finally devouring his prey. Shortly after consuming all the crayfish, Lin Hao receives a system message informing him that he has completed one of the missions, leaving him quite satisfied to know he completed a mission while having a meal. Opening the reward given for completing the mission, a strange power emerges from the box and flows into the protagonist. Afterward, he grabs the mermaid's attention and asks her to watch his new trick. An incredible red glow emanates from the protagonist. Then a powerful energy beam shoots out of his mouth. He remarks that his attack would be even more devastating out of the water, while the mermaid pleads with him never to use it in the forest. Lin Hao gets distracted by one of the dead mutant fish floating past him, and immediately takes the opportunity to eat it as well. He then speculates that the Logan City might be having problems with mutant fish. The mermaid warns him to be careful as two organizations are after him. Lin Hao begins to question why they released those mutant fish into the river, knowing that these fish take a long time to mature. He concludes they are trying to buy time. He leaves stating that someone is trying to keep the Dragon Pool team occupied for some reason. He then returns to the surface, reflecting on what is happening. Under no circumstances does he want Dragon Pool to be at risk, forcing him to leave the area. While running through the forest in human form with the mermaid following him, his companion asks where Lin Hao is headed, and he responds that he simply feels like eating some mudfish. Meanwhile, on the Dragon team's side, we see the organization investigating those releasing mutant creatures in different areas. The captain, enraged, vents his frustration about the mutant mudfish problem. He then calms down and orders all waterways in the area to be sealed off until further notice. Simultaneously, researchers are investigating another case. The investigation focuses on an unidentified winged creature, an extremely dangerous creature capable of releasing terrifying golden energy, generating intense heat around it. Researcher Lu questions whether they can locate and launch an attack on it, but another researcher replies that the creature is too fast and is no longer in the area, so an attack isn't feasible. Another researcher enters, stating the creature has likely crossed national borders, and shifts the focus to a more pressing matter. He introduces Captain Lu as the head of the Longian branch research team and announces she has brought significant news. Lu declares they have obtained an intact alien spacecraft. The researchers quickly grow excited at the prospect of studying a fully intact spacecraft. Lu even remarks that aliens usually leave behind only debris, but this time, by some miracle, the craft is perfect. However, the chief researcher warns that human bodies were found nearby, bearing marks suggesting a mutant creature killed them. The researcher also mentions the absence of the sword, leading the others to speculate on what might have happened. Meanwhile, Lu wonders if the mutant creature they are discussing could be Lin Hao. The chief researcher then informs her that the Longian branch has detected signs of a mutant creature and is now hunting it to determine if it was responsible for killing the alien. Lu realizes she must act quickly and requests the professor prepare a GT virus injection for her immediately. The professor agrees to prepare the injection, but mentions a potential drawback. Without hesitation, Lu states she is ready to take full responsibility for whatever happens. We return to the protagonist's perspective in the forest. In his new form, he had spent the entire night cleaning the waters of the mutant fish that had been released. A huge sense of relief fills him as he sees the area finally free of mutant creatures, while his companion complains of feeling exhausted after witnessing him perform all that cleanup work. Lin Hao also admits he is struggling with the effort of purifying the waters while still being pursued by the dragon team. Seeing this, the mermaid decides to console him, pointing out that at least he leveled up by devouring all the creatures. Then another system message appears, alerting him of a new reward for the completed mission. Without much thought, he simply accepts the rewards. A massive energy surges from the chests, flowing directly into Lin Hao. Shortly after, Lin Hao says he feels itching as if a brain is growing in his head. Next, a system message appears, stating that he has just acquired a skill called Berserk, which will increase his strength for 10 seconds. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble in the area where they are. The mermaid then says that the tremor has opened a cave nearby. Looking ahead, the protagonist notices a small cave that wasn't there a few seconds ago. Lin Hao even wonders if everything isn't too convenient since the cave is perfectly sized for him. Thus, he enters the cave, until, unexpectedly, he finds a dead end. He taps on the wall, which opens a hole, allowing him to see through to the other side. Peering through the hole, he sees a strange creature resembling a dinosaur. However, something else catches his attention even more. There's also a frozen T-Rex inside. Suddenly, the ice begins to crack. This throws the protagonist into a panic. After all, a powerful T-Rex is on the other side of the wall. Lin Hao then asks if the system can detect the creature's combat power. The mermaid says no life signal is being detected from the creature, but Lin Hao insists, saying he saw its eyes move. Then, moments later, the mermaid starts detecting something. The system announces that it has detected a nearby enemy signal. Suddenly, water starts entering the cave. Lin Hao remarks that it shouldn't be possible for water to enter the cave, suggesting that some water-controlling creature might be responsible. A strong current begins to form at the cave's depths. It creates a whirlpool heading straight for the protagonist. However, Lin Hao decides to remain calm and wait for an opportunity to escape. Now he wants to know who's trying to mess with him, so he propels himself out of the whirlpool. Once he escapes the whirlpool, he notices that everything is much calmer than he expected. Meanwhile, the whirlpool inexplicably begins to disappear. However, an unknown creature starts to emerge from the depths of the sea. What is about to appear is a high-level mutant creature. But upon seeing the creature, the protagonist becomes even more excited at the prospect of earning more evolution points. The creature immediately launches a bubble jet at the protagonist. Lin Hao doesn't take the attack seriously and simply dodges it while observing the bubbles pass by. To his surprise, the bubbles begin to chase him, until one of them touches his scales. It instantly causes a powerful explosion on his back. The explosion doesn't harm him, but could still pose a problem if it continues hitting him. Next, several bubbles explode around him. He then defends himself by using his fire attack to target all the bubbles. Now he questions the creature's audacity to mess with him, but tentacles begin to emerge, leaving Lin Hao even more confused, not understanding what's happening. He hypothesizes that the tentacles belong to a second creature working with the first to defeat him. The creature wraps him with its tentacles, but Lin Hao says he will now take the fight seriously. He begins burning the tentacle holding him, forcing the creature to release him as he mocks it. Without wasting time, the other mutant creature resumes attacking him with its bubbles. Lin Hao prepares to counterattack. With his body burning with power, he charges forward, destroying all the bubbles in his path, until he gets close to the mutant fish. He grabs it by the mouth, then launches a powerful energy blast directly into the creature's mouth, causing it to explode from the inside out. Seeing that his attack killed the creature, Lin Hao begins to devour the mutant fish. The mermaid warns him that other mutant creatures might approach due to the smell of blood, but Lin Hao says he doesn't care and will devour them all. A system message arrives notifying him that he earned 25,000 points from the creature he just defeated, which excites him even more. But the mermaid insists he should leave to avoid encountering an even more dangerous creature. However, Lin Hao replies that he wants to find the cowardly lizard that fled from him. The mermaid says there's a nearby base that creates mutant creatures and asks if he still wants to take such a big risk. Lin Hao, for his part, feels confident, believing he can teleport at any moment if things get dangerous. Shortly after, he arrives where the fugitive creature is. A huge ink cloud covers it, leaving only one of its tentacles visible, which oddly seems to be waving at the protagonist. Suddenly, a tentacle brushes past the protagonist. He looks back to see if he was mistaken. But when he looks forward again, he sees a massive crab eating the mutant octopus from before. The crab then notices the protagonist's presence and begins to exert an overwhelming pressure on him. His instincts tell him to run as fast as he can. Quickly, Lin Hao swims away. He tries to teleport while the crab pursues him, but the system notifies him that he's out of teleport range, leaving the protagonist with no choice but to flee until he gets within teleport range. At that moment, he recalls the mermaid's warning about the dangers of the sea. The crab continues its assault while the protagonist struggles to dodge. Even a simple scratch from the crab is enough to break his scales. Another attack from the crab targets Lin Hao, who, fortunately, manages to escape. After desperately fleeing from the mutant crab, Lin Hao finally reaches the Longyan Reservoir. The mermaid mocks his earlier statement about being able to teleport away whenever he wanted. He replies that he had no choice, as it was his first time in the open sea. He then asks why she didn't teleport him back to Hualong Lake, and she responds that he might have messed up the teleportation in his panic. The topic changes as Lin Hao notices a mutant fish in front of him. Those fish are multiplying rapidly and infesting the area. Lin Hao's solution is to unleash a burst of fire on the mutations. The two debate whether it's effective to keep using fire on such small creatures. While they're distracted, a great danger approaches. An enormous swarm of mutant fish capable of destroying a city gathers in that spot. Lin Hao feels compelled to try and kill all the creatures. Even he struggles to bear the sight of such a vast number of mutant fish. So he returns to the surface, prepares to unleash an even more powerful burst of fire, then starts setting fire to all the fish in the water, killing a large portion of the mutants. Afterward, the mermaid questions whether he did that to avoid drawing attention, but Lin Hao responds that people should be grateful for his actions. Seeing that there's no more marine life left in the area because of the mutant fish, the protagonist leaves. On his way, he encounters two people talking nearby. The two are discussing the mutant fish they had released into the rivers in the surrounding areas. One of them even says he hopes the rivers of Longyan City will be overrun. Upon hearing this, the protagonist becomes enraged at how casually they talk about innocent lives. One of them laughs, imagining how desperate the city's people must be. He then says their goal is to enter the ruins of the civilization while the people are distracted by the mutant fish. Camouflaged nearby, the protagonist questions if the T-Rex objective is also the ruin of civilization. One of the men pulls out a vial filled with mutants, justifying their actions as simply accelerating the land's evolutionary process. He then throws the vial into the water, saying he wants to see the people of Longyan City try to deal with the situation. But immediately the vial is thrown back, striking his head. His companion quickly prepares for a fight as he looks around to see who threw the vial. The protagonist appears before them. The man with the knife attacks immediately. Lin Hao defends himself, using only his hand to stop the attack. What he didn't expect was for the knife to pierce his scales. But with little effort, the protagonist pierces the man's chest with his claws. The man calls the protagonist a beast as he continues trying to stab him. Lin Hao responds by setting everything around him ablaze, incinerating his enemy's body until he dies. Turning to the second man, the protagonist intimidates him with his words. With a terrified look, the man says that he will die here. As Lin Hao prepares his attack, it's revealed that the man is recording everything with a hidden camera. Lin Hao warns the men that he will make them all pay the price for their sins. One of the men then removes his glasses and turns them toward Lin Hao. He laughs while still on fire and tells the creature before him that it too won't survive for much longer. In response, Lin Hao declares that he is eternal. Then both men are incinerated by the protagonist. As Lin Hao stares pensively at the two, the mermaid asks if he's thinking about eating them, but Lin Hao quickly responds that he finds the idea disgusting. What's actually troubling him is the possibility that Longyan City doesn't only contain those mutant fish from before. The mermaid suggests that perhaps the mutant creatures aren't being controlled by the ones they assume are in control. This makes the protagonist immediately think of the alien. He concludes that the alien from earlier was merely a harvester, and that the main force remains hidden. He then jumps back into the sea. Knowing that the enemy's plan is to awaken all the creatures of the civilization's ruins, Lin Hao now needs to return to the estuary to find a way into the ruins. As he swims back to the estuary, a strong dizziness overtakes him, causing him to gradually lose consciousness, until he finally passes out completely. The scene shifts to the Dragon Team's research room, where several scientists are gathered around a chamber. Suddenly, the chamber begins to open as if someone's about to emerge. Lu steps out of the chamber. When asked how she feels, she replies that her body feels much lighter than before. The scientist remarks that she also feels much stronger. He explains that a high concentration of the GT virus was injected into her bloodstream, and that since the virus was introduced into her body, she has been asleep for over 20 hours. It also informs her that they were recently attacked by another organization attempting to steal information about the mutant creatures. However, Lu seems unsurprised. She already knows about a group of lunatics who believe that injecting the GT virus into their bloodstream is the path to human evolution. Their belief is based on the law of the strong miss, where only those who survive the virus can join their organization. During their conversation, the doctor mentions that this organization views the aliens as messiahs and believes that through them, humanity can achieve evolution. The doctor then uses ocular biometrics to unlock the research room door. He instructs Lu to find a blade that suits her well. Before leaving, Lu asks Dr. Chang if there's a difference between their organization and the L organization. Dr. Chang responds that the L organization acts out of self-interest, unlike them, who claim to be doing everything for the benefit of others. After hearing his response, Lu leaves the room. But before she goes, he informs her that they've successfully captured the mutant creature they were searching for earlier. This makes her wonder which creature he is referring to. The scene transitions to the protagonist waking from his sleep. He is now trapped in a net, surrounded by armed men. The captain expresses his satisfaction at finally capturing the mutant creature, but he still questions why the creature looks so much like a dragon. Lin Hao, however, is simply stunned to have been captured by them. Seeing the protagonist captured makes the mermaid think his fate is to be taken to the lab and dissected alive, but he insists they should talk about the ruins. Someone approaches them, calling for Captain Zhao Chenkong. That's when Lu arrives on the scene. Her arrival shocks the protagonist. However, Captain Zhao quickly orders that he be sedated to ease transportation to the base. The soldiers prepare to shoot, but Lu tells them to stand down, noting that the creature isn't showing any signs of hostility. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouts her name. Her eyes quickly fill with tears upon hearing the familiar voice. She then asks if this is Lin Hao. At the same time, the captain confirms that the perimeter is secure. Lu Xu, however, can't stop thinking about Lin Hao. Lin Hao looks at his mermaid companion and insists he wants to speak. But the mermaid advises him not to reveal his human form in front of everyone. Lin Hao replies that he really wants to talk to Lu Xu. The mermaid urges him to remain calm and wait for her to free him from his bonds. Lin Hao repeats her name once more while pointing at himself. Lu Xu begins to approach him. With tears streaming down her face, she asks what happened to him during all this time. However, just as they are about to talk, 3 meteors fall from the sky. Lin Hao is the first to spot them and wonders what has fallen from the heavens. As they hit the ground, explosions erupt at each impact point. Immediately, the protagonist shouts, "Ancient ruins." Lu Xu quickly orders her team to contact headquarters to find out what's happening with the ancient ruins. She then states that the situation is urgent, admitting she still doesn't know what to do with him. Despite this, she says she trusts him. Then she cuts the net that was holding him captive, freeing the protagonist once again. After being released, the protagonist informs her that he will be waiting at the dragon transformation pool. Finally, he dives back into the sea, leaving Lu Xu standing there, staring at the water and reflecting on his words. Captain Zhao arrives, lamenting their failure to capture the creature but declaring his intention to pursue him again later. Lu Xu then orders her entire team to assemble and head to the ancient ruins. Meanwhile, on the protagonist's side, deep in the sea, the mermaid questions why they haven't gone to the ancient ruins yet. Lin Hao explains that the dragon team will need the sword he previously buried, because he fears that a fleet of aliens might have arrived with those meteors. Shortly after, we see him swimming through the sea, until falling meteors over Dragon War City catches attention. The system immediately detects enemies in the area, but Lin Hao, who thought he had cleared the place of mutant creatures, now wants to discover where the detected enemy is coming from. Suddenly, he sees something emerging from the water. A golden energy sphere rises from beneath the waves. Seeing this, Lin Hao wonders why they are there if their target is the ancient ruins. We see the aliens trying to awaken something in that place. Their technology soon detects a life form nearby. The device registers a force even stronger than theirs. Simultaneously, the other alien asks what's going on. Then the two begin to notice something in the water, until the unknown creature leaps out of the water. It attacks with its claw, but the alien dodges easily, commenting on how the creature has awakened. The alien then states that the master of the creature is about to arrive. Lin Hao says he doesn't understand anything the alien is saying and declares he will simply kill him. Thus, Lin Hao unleashes a burst of fire at the two aliens. The second alien, witnessing this, comments that he doesn't believe they are the ones who awakened the creature in front of them. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battle, without much conversation, the protagonist charges directly at them. The alien tries to attack him, but he dodges upward, then grabs the alien's head and violently tears it off his body. Turning to the other alien, he asks if it still plans to fight him after that. Energy beams emanate from the alien as it points at Lin Hao. A powerful energy blast strikes Lin Hao, sending him crashing back into the sea. Even with his powerful scales, he feels pain from the attack. Suddenly, the seawater begins to behave strangely, forming a whirlpool in the ocean. Trapped inside the vortex, Lin Hao realizes that the alien controlling the sphere is responsible for creating these whirlpools, but he sees no issue as he's an amphibian. His only question now is where the vortex is taking him. At that moment, his mermaid companion reappears, creating a barrier around him. The two converse while the protagonist takes the opportunity to meditate. Meanwhile, on the dragon team's side, we see Lu Xu and Zhao discussing the alien ships that landed on Dragon Mountain. Captain Zhao asks Lu Xu to remain at the site to wait for reinforcements from headquarters while he leaves the team to conduct inspections. Only 2 T-Rexes have been found frozen in the ruins of Dragon War City. However, the team has been unable to break the ice around either of them for study. Based on this, Lu Xu speculates on the reasons the aliens would send so many spacecraft just to awaken the 2 T-Rexes. She deduces that there is another undiscovered ruin in Dragon Roar. She quickly calls Dr. Zhang to inform him that the aliens are pursuing a 3rd ruin that has not yet been found. Zhang answers the call and immediately asks her to coordinate with a new battalion of soldiers to protect Dragon Mountain. Then someone arrives and greets the two. It is Lai Yi, a captain of the Dragon Team's action unit. Beside Captain Zhao, a soldier asks if their calculations were wrong. Zhao tells him to wait because the base's calculations indicated that another batch should land in that area. Then another meteor is spotted falling nearby. Zhao alerts Lu Xu about the situation. Immediately after, they launch a missile at the meteor, destroying the spaceship that was about to land. Next, they begin searching for the debris of the ship. More explosions occur in the sky. Zhao then warns that they are about to encounter the enemy's main forces, but unexpectedly, they find a spaceship landed right in front of them. Arriving at the scene, everyone gathers around the ship. A soldier questions how the ship remains intact even though their missiles clearly hit. Zhao explains that their missiles should have at least scorched the ship. Inside the spaceship, it begins to open. Then an alien emerges from within and charges at everyone. Zhao quickly draws his weapon and starts shooting at the alien. The soldiers join him, firing at the alien. However, the alien easily dodges their attacks and swiftly approaches the soldiers. It then slices one of the soldiers in half. Seeing what the alien just did, Zhao becomes enraged and prepares to fight. He draws his sword and rushes toward the enemy. But the alien also unsheathes a sword from its scabbard. It blocks Zhao's attack. Zhao declares that he will take the enemy down even if it costs him his life. He then shouts fire to his team. The team starts shooting from all sides, but the alien uses a barrier to shield itself. Afterward, the alien calls Zhao a pathetic native and claims its firepower far surpasses that of humans. A strange energy begins to emanate from the alien, but something moving at high speed approaches the two. As Zhao yells, challenging the enemy, something emerges from behind him and throws the alien far away. Lin Hao has just arrived on the battlefield. However, the enemy still mocks the strength of his opponents. It proceeds to attack the surrounding soldiers. Until a massive flame separates it from the soldiers, Lin Hao tells the creature not to underestimate him. Afterward, he charges at the alien. The alien attempts to defend itself with its sword, but the sword is broken by the protagonist's bite. The alien then asks what kind of creature the protagonist is and who awakened him. Without responding, Lin Hao strikes his enemy, ripping off one of its arms. He then grabs it by the neck and declares that he has no connection to the alien's species. Now, Lin Hao demands to know the purpose of the aliens coming to this place, but the alien only laughs, saying the hunt cannot be stopped. Lin Hao interrogates it further, trying to understand what it means. When it seems like the alien is about to say something, a high-speed arrow suddenly approaches. Lin Hao dodges to the side, but the arrow still pierces the alien's head. After this, the protagonist looks back, searching for who fired the arrow. Nearby stands a mysterious man holding a bow. He announces that he is there to support the others while aiming his bow at the protagonist. Luo Xui, coming from behind, shouts that the man is Captain Li and that there's no need to fear him. Lin Hao quickly deduces that she shouted this to alert him that the man is an ally from the main headquarters. She then grabs a flash grenade from her hand, throws it into the air, and shouts for Captain Lai to be cautious. Shortly after, Lai Yi notices that the creature that was there has disappeared. With the danger past, the three regroup. Luo Xui then requests the medical team be brought in to assist Zhao. Zhao thanks his comrades for their help as he is taken to the medical team. A little later, far from the scene, Lin Hao is alone gazing at the moon and reflecting on what happened. The mermaid asks what he learned from the alien and what his plan will be moving forward. The protagonist recalls the alien saying that they don't even consider humans prey, but instead see the blue star as a massive hunting ground. The aliens view everything as grand entertainment and awaken mutant creatures purely for the thrill of the hunt. Amidst all of this, Lin Hao is part of their little game, with his head being hunted by 3 different groups. Additionally, it seems that the Dragon Transformation Pool and Dragon Mountain are connected by a route, which is why he managed to arrive there so quickly. He then recalls a time when he was trapped in the whirlpool, the moment he gained new skills after evolving. One of these skills was Dragon Rage, which increases all his basic stats for 10 seconds. Since it also has a passive ability that ignores cooldown time when he is gravely injured, Lin Hao sees great utility in this skill. This also reminds him of the ability he gained earlier when he was lucky with the system's mission rewards, the skill to scan his opponents. Thus, his memories end at the moment the whirlpool stopped, having already carried him to the lake of Dragon Mountain. In the present, the protagonist, thinking about the alien's words with the mermaid, suggests that perhaps the aliens believe he and the other mutant creatures are the same. As such, they are trying to force him into Dragon Mountain to be within their hunting grounds. Now the protagonist finally realizes that in the aliens' view, everything and everyone on the planet are just part of their games. Suddenly, a loud noise is heard. Lin Hao concludes that only mere soldiers have been sent to Earth and that the true hunters have not yet arrived. His mission now is to eliminate the entire vanguard, which is only there to prepare the field for those yet to come. But a massive earthquake begins, making him think they are trying to destroy Dragon Mountain. A huge crack forms in the ground before him. From it, an enormous creature emerges. Simultaneously on the dragon team's side, a defeated alien tells Lai Yi that a dangerous, dormant creature resides in that place. Captain Lai simply asks what their objective is. The alien replies that the creature will soon awaken and kill everyone. Without mercy, Lai Yi decapitates the alien after its final words. But immediately after, another alien appears behind him, ready to attack. However, it is sliced in half before it can do anything. It is Captain Lu who arrives, asking him not to fight alone. He replies that while he dislikes fighting alone, he also doesn't like how the Dragon Roar division operates in the field. Luo Xu questions what he means by those words. Lai Yi then responds that he knows she intentionally let the previous mutant creature escape, but they are interrupted by the alien, saying there's no way they could obtain advanced alien armor. After hearing this, Captain Lai states his desire to capture an alien like this one to interrogate and extract more information. Out of nowhere, a powerful roar is heard by everyone, a roar so intense that it stuns both of them, while the alien merely laughs at the situation, warning them that reinforcements have arrived. On the protagonist's side, a giant worm emerges from the ground. It is a mutant earth dragon. Using his new power to scan, the protagonist identifies its species and combat power. After discovering its type, Lin Hao mocks the earth dragon, calling it just an earthworm. The earth dragon then attacks him. Lin Hao calmly dodges to the side, but he realizes that if he gets hit by the dragon's attack, it will cause significant damage. The worm attacks again. A series of strikes are launched by the worm as Lin Hao dodges every one of them. This makes Lin Hao wonder how the worm knows his exact position to attack. However, the worm begins to speed up, leaving him no time to think. Now he barely manages to dodge the attack, but immediately after, the worm strikes with its tail, hitting him squarely and sending him flying, destroying everything in its path. Lin Hao doesn't even have time to react to such a fast attack. The worm now captures him with its mouth and then slams him to the ground with immense force. The blow is so strong that it creates a crater in the ground. Refusing to give up, Lin Hao rises again, laughing at the worm's attack, because now it's his turn to strike. He charges at the worm with all his might, bites it and breathes fire on the enemy. But the worm throws him away with its counterattack. Lin Hao realizes his enemy has grown even stronger. Using his scanning ability, he can see that the creature's combat power keeps rising. Once again, the creature charges at him. But Lin Hao declares that he knows what the creature is doing. At that moment, he activates Super Rage, and he tells the worm that now both of them have activated Dragon Rage. After activating Dragon Rage, the protagonist enters a state of fury with an increase in his strength, making him capable of stopping the worm's charge with just his hands, and then counterattacking his enemy, slamming him to the ground with such force that he ends up knocking the creature unconscious. With his enemy knocked out on the ground, Lin Hao slices it apart with his sharp claws. However, even after the worm is already dead, Lin Hao's fury doesn't subside and he continues slicing his enemy. Time passes and keeps going, not resting until there's nothing left in front of him. He doesn't stop tearing apart the earth dragon. Shortly after dismembering the earth dragon and eating as much of its flesh as he could, Lin Hao now sighs in exhaustion after all the effort. He even comments that he didn't expect the worm to be so heavy. Thus, the protagonist falls asleep and the mermaid appears to clean up his mess. She then places a barrier over him to protect him while he rests. With the earth dragon dead, the protagonist gains 120,000 evolution points. Seeing this, the mermaid wonders if he's lucky or unlucky. On the other side of the mountain, Lu Ixui and Lai Yi walk by the Dragon Mountain Lake, with Lu Ixu complaining about the aliens blocking their communication signals. Meanwhile, the alien laughs at them, trying to scare them by mentioning the dangerous creature that has awakened. Suddenly, Lu Ixu stops walking and Lai Yi asks why she stopped. She responds that there's an alien ahead who seems to have been waiting for them. The two prepare for battle. Lai Yi attacks first, but his sword is broken when he strikes the enemy, leaving him deeply shocked by what just happened. With only its fist, the alien strikes Lai Yi, throwing him far away. Quickly, Lu Ixu rushes to help him. She then tells him to rest and try to contact headquarters while she takes over the fight. Lai Yi asks her to hold off the enemy for as long as possible until reinforcements arrive. Lu Ixu charges at the alien. The alien defends against her attack with little difficulty, then moves behind Lu Ixu. It delivers a deadly attack on her, but fortunately, she manages to dodge backward and distance herself from the enemy. It takes only a short time fighting for her to realize she's vastly inferior to the alien. But the alien doesn't give her time to think and quickly charges at her again, delivering a vertical slash with its sword that sends Lu Ixu flying. It then immediately moves toward Lai Yi, attacking him before he has a chance to defend himself. Suddenly, an intense blaze filled with flames appears in the battle. Lai Yi asks who is there, but no one answers. After the blaze disappears, a silhouette briefly appears before him, then vanishes along with the alien. Confused, Lai Yi wonders if that was a mutant creature. Lu Ixu then says that it's a friendly mutant creature and asks him not to report it to headquarters until she can explain the entire situation. Lai Yi agrees but mentions he can't keep quiet for too long. Shortly after, on the other side of the lake, the protagonist emerges from the water carrying the alien, and then hurls it against a wall. The alien, however, assumes that the creature is one of its kind, awakened to assist it. Lin Hao laughs and calls it an idiot, then begins burning it while asking if the alien was expecting the dead worm. But he quickly adds that he'll make sure the alien joins the worm inside his stomach. Sitting on the cliff while watching the dawn, Lin Hao complains that the alien's meat tastes like rubber, and the mermaid asks if he's ever eaten rubber in his life. He responds that if eating rubber leveled him up, he'd have already finished off all the vehicles in Longyan. A system message appears showing that 2 missions have been completed. He celebrates having completed them, then receives the mission rewards, which makes his eyes seem more energized than ever. As he opens his eyes and looks ahead, his vision becomes incredibly sharp, as if he were looking through a telescope. He can even see people from a great distance. Even his breathing feels better. Now Lin Hao reflects on how the Sea of Longyan can no longer handle the number of ships descending from space. The mermaid then asks what he plans to do next. Lin Hao responds that he underestimated the capabilities of the Dragon Team and the L Group and will now need to reevaluate them. For now, it's better to assist them on the battlefield. Meanwhile, inside a cave, we see the mutant T-Rex still frozen. A group of scientists is studying it. One of them tells Lu Ixu that more cracks are forming on the T-Rex and that the creature may be about to awaken. But Lu Ixu surprises them by stating that it's still unclear if it's truly waking up. According to her, the ice breaking might not indicate the creature is awakening since no signs of life have been detected. When asked if it would be better to call the other teams back, Lu Ixu explains they are waiting for the new armor to be sent from headquarters before returning. Suddenly, someone arrives in a panic bringing bad news. They report that the L organization has leaked their research data to the public. This news only further angers Lu Ixu, but Lai Yi arrives, suggesting they quickly end everything to avoid further issues with the public. He brings with him a case that catches Lu Ixu's attention, identifying it as level 3 equipment. He explains it was found in the mountains. It is gear left behind by the alien group Lin Hao had previously cleared out. Lu Ixu decides to open the case. Inside, she finds a sword crafted with highly advanced technology. She notes that such armor sets are only found in ruins, with level 3 sets being the easiest to find. Lai Yi adds that level 3 suits can only be selected from the depot at headquarters, while level 2 and above must be obtained through ruin trials. No one is prohibited from attempting the trials, but very few survive and complete them. Lu Ixu asks how many suits he has managed to acquire. Lai Yi responds that he has obtained 5 of these sets. Lu Ixu makes a pointed comment, but he replies that he cannot break the rules, even given their current situation. She turns serious and asks him to trust her. They are interrupted by a researcher reporting that the aliens are using low-frequency ultrasound to awaken the creatures. Meanwhile, the protagonist feels something calling to him. He begins to see colorful lights around him. A sphere at the center of these lights catches his attention. When he touches it, the sphere inexplicably disappears. The mermaid appears before him, trying to get his attention. But Lin Hao stands still, staring into the void. He then tells the mermaid that he just resonated with someone. Lin Hao leaves while the mermaid complains about being too tired to follow. The protagonist suspects the L organization placed that metal ball earlier to deliberately assist the aliens in awakening the dormant mutants. The mermaid keeps talking to herself until she realizes he's been gone for a while. So she goes after him, camouflaged near the cave housing the dormant mutants. Lin Hao observes that the T-Rex has not yet awakened. The mermaid asks if there's a traitor in the L organization, and the protagonist suggests there must be someone trying to help the aliens. Someone approaches while they are talking. The soldier looks around suspiciously. This raises their suspicions. The soldier continues on his way. The protagonist watches him from afar. Now inside the cave, the soldier says that if more awaken, his mission will be complete. A fireball flies toward him, hitting his hand and causing him to drop the stone he was holding. Then a massive shadow looms over him. He grabs his weapon and begins shooting, yelling for the monster to die. In response, the protagonist remarks that compared to this man, he should be called a monster. The soldier believes the protagonist is one of the monsters awakened by the alien's ultrasound. After this, the soldier pulls the pin from a grenade on his back and places it directly in front of them. Then he detonates it, blowing himself up along with the protagonist. Lin Hao emerges unscathed from the explosion, but shortly after, he hears a loud sound coming from inside the cave. Suddenly, the entire cave begins to tremble. Inside, a massive army relentlessly attacks the mutant creature. A tank fires at the creature, creating a huge explosion in the area. Afterward, Captain Lee orders a ceasefire. The soldiers stop shooting, hoping the creature is dead. A heavy tension fills the air, until the creature reveals it is still alive even after all the attacks. Seeing that the creature was still alive, Lu Ixu ordered everyone to attack again. The T-Rex entered a state of fury. Since the bullets weren't working, Lai Yi fired his bow at the T-Rex. The arrow aimed for its eyes, but the attack didn't cause any damage to the creature. Lai Yi was shocked that an attack to the eyes had no effect. However, Lu Ixu told him to keep trying until he caused some damage. Once again, Lai Yi attacked the creature's eyes with his arrows, until finally he managed to cause some damage. The creature then furiously charged at the soldiers, trampling everyone in its path, giving them no chance to escape. Lu Ixu said she would try attacking with her sword made of otherworldly metal. Hearing this, Captain Lei ordered everyone to retreat. Soon after, Lu Ixu told him to clear everyone from the Longshan blockade and execute the final plan if necessary. The mutant T-Rex then charged at the two, but suddenly a massive blast of fire sent the T-Rex flying, dealing significant damage to its flesh. The protagonist arrived next, biting into its jaw. However, the T-Rex flung him away with its tail. Quickly, Lin Hao recovered as he couldn't feel pain in his state of fury. While the T-Rex focused on the protagonist, Lu Ixu approached from behind. She attacked it with her sword, causing a small wound on its tail. She then threw the sword to the protagonist, shouting for him to aim for the eyes. Lin Hao caught the sword. He leaped toward the T-Rex to attack with the sword, but the T-Rex shattered the sword with its bite, stopping Lin Hao's attack. So Lin Hao retaliated with his fiery breath, aimed directly at the T-Rex's eye, challenging it to break his fire. Suddenly, multiple danger warnings from the system appeared around him. Looking up, he saw several missiles heading his way. He questioned if they were trying to kill him after all this hard work. The missiles hit, causing a massive explosion inside the cave. Suddenly, we see Lin Hao in human form attacking the T-Rex with Lu Ixu's sword. His attack wasn't strong enough to cut through the creature's thick skin. The T-Rex countered with its tail, inflicting significant damage to his body. Now injured and lying on the ground, Lin Hao wondered if he would die again. At the same time, more missiles rained down on him, but he began to awaken in his dragon form. The mermaid slapped his head, calling him crazy. Afterward, he realized he was back at Hulong Lake. The mermaid explained that he had fallen into a coma after his fury state ended, and she had teleported him out before the explosion occurred. She added that the T-Rex likely survived because of its tough skin. She also mentioned that he had been asleep for a full day and night after the incident. Understanding the situation, Lin Hao decided to return to check what had happened, activating the teleportation to Dragon Mountain. Shortly after arriving at Dragon Mountain, Lin Hao swam at high speed back to the site of his last battle. When confronted about his motivation to return, he said he was only going back to ensure the dragon team didn't take his chance to eliminate the creature. In Lin Hao's mind, the creature was likely recovering from its injuries by the riverbank. Then he found the creature again. A pile of dead animal bodies lay near the river. The creature was feeding on them to recover. Lin Hao approached in camouflage mode, then activated his ability to ignite his scales. The T-Rex immediately sensed his presence, but Lin Hao charged at high speed, biting into its leg. The T-Rex felt the pain of the attack. It quickly grabbed the protagonist with its mouth. To its misfortune, that was part of the protagonist's plan. He then activated more of his abilities. Now inside the T-Rex's foul-smelling mouth, the protagonist began burning it from the inside out. After his attack succeeded, the T-Rex lost consciousness and fell. Finally, it died for good. Covered in saliva, Lin Hao complained about the awful smell. The mermaid, for her part, expressed disgust toward the protagonist. But Lin Hao said she wasn't appreciating the greatness of his actions. Shortly after, he began devouring the creature. Meanwhile, in a hospital in the city, Lu Xui and Lai Yi were being treated in a room, until, simultaneously, both received a call. They answered at the same time, and they both react the same way to the call. Both received the same call from headquarters, asking them to explain the appearance of the second creature. Lu is then confronted by Lai Yi, who demands to know what she knows about the creature that helped them. However, they are interrupted by Zhao entering the room. Zhao arrives, announcing that a real dragon has been found in Hulong Lake. Lu Xui is puzzled by the presence of a dragon near the city. She is then shown an image captured by the organization's radars of a creature. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's